Life is a journey that cannot be lived through the hands of others. Waiting for someone else to take the first step is a trap that keeps dreams locked away, and potential hidden. Every moment spent hoping for guidance or permission is a moment lost, because the truth is nobody else can carry your dreams. Nobody else can walk your path. Nobody else can face your fears for you. And the sooner you understand this, the sooner you awaken the strength that has been quietly waiting inside you. From the moment we are born, we are taught to seek help, to follow advice, to rely on others for direction. But while guidance can illuminate the way, it cannot replace the action that comes from within, the action that comes from self-belief, courage, and determination. There is a power in standing alone, in choosing to trust yourself, to face challenges without leaning on someone else, to rescue, to take responsibility for both success and failure. That power is freedom, and it is the only way to grow truly, to expand beyond limits that were set by fear, doubt, or dependency. This book is a journey into that freedom, a roadmap for cultivating self-reliance, resilience, and unwavering confidence. It is about learning to listen to your own voice and act on your own instincts, to embrace solitude not as loneliness, but as a tool for reflection, creativity, and growth. Each chapter is designed to guide you through stories of ordinary people who achieve extraordinary results by taking initiative, examples of inventors, athletes, artists, and entrepreneurs who faced immense challenges alone and yet triumphed because they refused to wait for someone else to act. As you read these pages, you will be encouraged to stop waiting, to start relying on your own wisdom and strength, to begin making decisions, taking steps, and creating momentum without external validation or approval. You will discover that the moments you face alone are not moments of weakness, but opportunities for mastery, opportunities to cultivate discipline, clarity, and courage. The essence of this journey is understanding that life does not pause for anyone, that your dreams will not wait for permission, and that the only way to truly grow is to act without hesitation and take ownership of your path. In embracing this philosophy, you will learn that doing it alone does not mean doing it without support entirely. It means cultivating independence, first building your own foundation before seeking collaboration. It means knowing that your progress, your failures, your victories are yours to own and yours to celebrate. It is about turning solitude into strength, self-doubt into determination, and hesitation into action. By the end of this book, you will not only understand why nobody else can do it for you, but you will feel empowered to step forward alone, with courage, purpose, and unwavering belief in your own potential. This journey begins now, and the first step is yours. To take the path may be challenging, the nights may be long, and the obstacles may seem insurmountable, yet every step you take on your own will forge resilience. Every choice you make without waiting for others will build confidence, and every moment you act will bring you closer to the life you envision, the life that only you can create. Chapter 1. The power of self-reliance. The moment you realize that nobody else can act for you is the moment your life begins in its truest form. Many people go through life waiting for guidance, waiting for instructions, waiting for someone to hold their hand. But the truth is, guidance can only point the way. It cannot walk the road for you. The steps you take, the choices you make, the risks you face, all of that must come from within, and embracing this truth is the first step toward mastery of your own destiny. Self-reliance is not about isolation or arrogance. It is about understanding that your dreams, your goals, your potential cannot be outsourced. It is about trusting yourself to make decisions even when the outcome is uncertain. It is about taking responsibility for both success and failure, and knowing that the lessons learned from your own actions are infinitely more powerful than any advice given by others. Consider the story of Thomas Edison, who faced thousands of failed experiments. Before creating the light bulb, he did not wait for someone else to invent it for him. He failed, he learned, he tried again, and eventually he illuminated the world through his persistence and belief in his own ability. The power of self-reliance is evident in countless walks of life. It is seen in the young student who chooses a path less traveled, who studies alone late at night, because no one is pushing them to do so. It is seen in the entrepreneur who starts a business from a small garage or a basement, with no investors, no mentors, and no guarantees, yet keeps moving forward because they trust in their own vision. It is seen in artists who spend months or years perfecting their craft without validation or applause from anyone else. These examples teach a universal truth that waiting for permission or relying on others is a trap that keeps potential locked away, while taking action independently unlocks doors that no one else can open for you. To cultivate self-reliance, the first step is awareness. You must recognize where you have been dependent and ask yourself whether waiting for someone else has delayed your dreams. Are there areas of your life where you have been seeking advice, endlessly hoping for the right opportunity or the perfect guide? The realization that no one can do it for you can be uncomfortable, yet it is liberating because it places the power entirely in your hands. It shifts responsibility from external forces to your own choices, and suddenly you are no longer a passenger in your life, but the driver. The second step is action. Self-reliance without action is only theory. It is not enough to believe you can achieve something. You must start doing. You must take tangible steps, no matter how small and no matter how uncertain the outcome it is. In the repetition of these actions, in the persistence to try and try again, that independence is forged. Think of the stories of solo travelers who explore the world alone, navigating unknown cities without a guide. They face obstacles, they make mistakes, they get lost, yet every challenge teaches resilience. Every choice strengthens their confidence, and every victory, no matter how small, is a testament to the power of acting independently. The third step is reflection. Learning from your own experience is crucial. When you act alone, you have no one else to blame for failure, and no one else to take credit for success. This forces you to develop clarity and insight. You become aware of your strengths and weaknesses, and you cultivate judgment and intuition that cannot be taught. The painter who studies color and technique alone, or the coder who spends months debugging without help, develops a level of expertise and self-understanding that could never be achieved through dependence. Self-reliance also requires courage. The courage to face fear, uncertainty, and potential failure. The courage to step out when no one else will follow you. The courage to take risks even when support is absent. It is easy to act when surrounded by cheerleaders and guidance. It is infinitely more powerful to act alone. It is in those moments of solitude that character is built and potential is realized. Consider the mountaineer who climbs a treacherous peak alone, with only their skills and preparation to guide them. Each step demands courage, each obstacle tests resilience, and each summit achieved is a victory born solely from self-reliance. Ultimately, the power of self-reliance lies in freedom. When you understand that you are responsible for your own destiny, you stop waiting for validation and permission. You stop comparing yourself to others and seeking approval. You move forward with clarity, purpose, and confidence. You realize that, while the world may offer guidance, it cannot replace your action, your vision, and your determination. And this understanding transforms the way you live, the way you dream, and the way you achieve. The journey of self-reliance begins with a single choice: to act without waiting to be pushed. It is a decision to trust yourself, to face challenges, to learn from mistakes, and to celebrate victories, no matter how small. It is a commitment to be the creator of your own life story and not a passive observer. It is the foundation of everything else in life, because before you can lead, inspire, or collaborate effectively, you must first know that you can stand on your own, that you can act independently, and that nobody else can do it for you. From this chapter forward, as you navigate the lessons ahead, remember that the power to create the life you desire already exists within you. It has been waiting for you to claim. It waiting for you to step forward, to trust your instincts, and to take action alone. The path may be challenging, and it may demand perseverance, yet every step taken independently strengthens your resolve. Every decision made courageously reinforces your confidence, and every success achieved through your own effort illuminates the limitless potential of self-reliance. Chapter 2. Overcoming fear of being alone. Being alone is one of the greatest challenges most people face in life. Society conditions us to believe that solitude is undesirable, that we must always seek companionship, guidance, or approval to move forward. Yet the truth is, being alone is not a weakness. It is an opportunity, a chance to cultivate inner strength, clarity, and resilience, and those who learn to embrace it unlock a power that cannot be borrowed from anyone else. The fear of being alone often stems from doubt. The doubt that you are not enough, that your decisions will fail, or that without someone to guide you, you will stumble in darkness. Yet when you confront this fear, you discover that every obstacle faced alone strengthens character. Every choice made independently sharpens judgment, and every success achieved without external help builds confidence that is unshakable. Consider the story of J.K. Rowling, who wrote the Harry Potter series as a single mother. Often alone in small cafes battling rejection from publishers, she did not wait for validation. She did not rely on someone else to give her permission to write. She trusted her vision and persevered. The solitude became her ally. It allowed her to focus, to reflect, and to create a world that now inspires millions. Embracing being alone begins with mindset. It requires a shift from seeing solitude as loneliness to seeing it as freedom. It requires understanding that moments without external support are moments to listen to your own voice, to connect with your own ideas, and to take decisive action without hesitation. Solitary moments are not empty. They are fertile ground for growth, reflection, and innovation. The entrepreneur working late into the night in a small apartment, refining their business plan. The artist who spends weeks alone sketching and painting before showing their work, and the student who studies in quiet corners, away from distractions, all exemplify how being alone can become a powerful tool when approached with courage and intention. The second key to overcoming fear of being alone is embracing discomfort. Growth rarely occurs in comfort. It is forged in the fire of challenge, and solitude often magnifies that discomfort, yet facing it teaches resilience. Consider athletes who train alone for hours without cheering crowds or immediate recognition. They push their bodies and minds to limits that only solitude can test. Each repetition, each lap, and each drill develops discipline and endurance that cannot be achieved in the safety of constant support. The discomfort of being alone is not a signal to retreat. It is a signal that you are growing. Another essential aspect of overcoming this fear is developing self-trust. When you rely on yourself to make decisions and solve problems, you build confidence that others cannot give you. Self-trust grows with each challenge faced alone. It is strengthened by the lessons learned from mistakes and reinforced by the victories earned independently. Consider solo travelers who navigate foreign cities without guides. They face uncertainty constantly, yet each successful step deepens trust in their own instincts and abilities. They learn that they can rely on themselves for direction, for safety, and for problem solving, and this trust becomes a foundation for every other endeavor in life. Reflection is also critical in transforming solitude into strength. When you are alone, you have the space to analyze decisions, to evaluate outcomes, and to grow from experience without interference or influence from others. It allows for honest self-assessment and encourages independence of thought. The coder who spends weeks debugging alone, the writer who revises drafts in quiet solitude, and the inventor tinkering with prototypes without guidance, all benefit from this reflection. It teaches patience, persistence, and creativity, all of which are essential to mastering independence. The fear of being alone often masks a deeper fear of failure, yet acting independently teaches that failure is not final. It is informative. It is an opportunity to learn and grow. When you face obstacles, without relying on someone else. You gain insights and develop skills that are inaccessible when others shield you from mistakes. The scientist conducting experiments alone, who learns from each unexpected result. The entrepreneur whose early ventures fail yet, who refines strategy based on lessons learned, and the musician practicing relentlessly alone before performing on stage, all illustrate how confronting fear and working independently leads to growth. Finally, embracing being alone transforms perspective. It allows you to recognize that support and collaboration are valuable, but not essential. In the early stages of growth, that your voice matters, that your vision is valid, and that your actions have impact, even without external validation. The moment you stop fearing solitude is the moment you gain freedom, freedom to explore your potential, freedom to create your path, and freedom to act decisively, without hesitation. Solitude is not a punishment. It is a tool. It is an environment that fosters courage, creativity, and self-discovery. It is where you develop the habits, the mindset, and the confidence to take control of your life. When you no longer fear being alone, you stop waiting for others to guide you, to approve you, or to validate your choices. You step into the power of independence, and you discover that being alone is not a state of weakness, but a state of mastery, a space where the mind becomes sharper, the spirit stronger, and the soul resilient. Overcoming the fear of being alone is not instantaneous. It is a journey. It requires consistent practice, self-reflection, and courage, yet every step forward strengthens your ability to act independently. Every challenge faced alone reinforces your self-trust, and every victory, no matter how small, builds the foundation for greater achievements. It is in these moments that you realize that being alone is not something to fear, but something to embrace, because in solitude, you discover the boundless power within you. The next time life places you in a situation where you must act alone, remember that fear is temporary, that discomfort is growth, and that independence is power, that every choice made independently is a victory, and that nobody else can walk your path for you. Embracing solitude is not just a lesson. It is a lifestyle. It is the key to unlocking potential, in achieving extraordinary success, and the journey of learning to act alone continues in every decision you make, in every challenge you face, and in every dream you pursue. Chapter 3. Setting your own goals. Life becomes meaningful the moment you take ownership of your direction, when you stop waiting for others to tell you what to do, and start defining what success looks like for you. The process of setting your own goals is an act of independence, a declaration that your life belongs to you, and that nobody else can chart the path on your behalf. Many people drift through life following expectations imposed by family, society, or peers, but true fulfillment comes from listening to your own voice and creating goals that resonate with your deepest desires. Setting your own goals begins with clarity. You must first understand what you truly want, not what others want for you, not what seems popular or conventional, but what ignites passion within you. This clarity allows you to distinguish between distractions and opportunities. It gives direction to your efforts and focus to your energy. Consider the story of Elon Musk, who pursued ventures in space exploration and electric vehicles. Despite widespread skepticism, he followed his own vision of the future. Instead of conforming to traditional industries, his goals were driven by his own beliefs and determination, not external validation. Once clarity is established, action is required. Setting goals is not simply writing statements on paper. It is translating vision into practical steps that guide daily effort. It is about designing a roadmap for your journey with milestones and checkpoints that keep you accountable, even when nobody else is watching. The young artist who sketches every day for months before sharing their work, or the writer who commits to writing 1,000 words a day exemplify how independent goal setting, combined with consistent action, cultivates skill and progress. The courage to set your own goals is intertwined with self-trust. It takes confidence to pursue ambitions that may not align with the expectations of others, to follow a path that may be lonely, Yet it is precisely this courage that fosters resilience and ingenuity. Consider Malala Yousafzai, who pursued education despite extreme opposition. She did not wait for approval. She defined her goal and pursued it alone with determination. Her courage transformed her solitary vision into a global movement inspiring millions. Setting goals independently also requires adaptability. Life is unpredictable. Obstacles emerge, plans change, and circumstances shift. Yet when you own your goals, you learn to adjust without abandoning your vision. The entrepreneur whose startup faces setbacks yet pivots creatively to new strategies, or the scientist whose experiments fail yet who revises hypotheses, exemplify how independence in goal setting encourages flexibility and resourcefulness. It teaches you to remain steadfast to your purpose while being open to learning and evolution. A crucial aspect of setting your own goals is defining them in a way that is measurable, meaningful, and motivating. Vague ambitions lead to inaction, while clear objectives create momentum. The athlete who aims to run a marathon within a certain time frame, or the student who plans to master a skill within a fixed period, illustrates how measurable targets transform vision into actionable reality. Setting your own goals gives structure to independence. It provides a compass for your journey without relying on others to direct your steps. Another dimension of independent goal setting is internal motivation. It is easy to pursue goals for approval, recognition, or reward, yet the most powerful progress emerges from intrinsic desire. When you act on goals that reflect your values, passions, and dreams, you cultivate perseverance and satisfaction that cannot be borrowed from others. The musician who practices relentlessly for the love of music rather than applause, or the coder who spends months creating a project driven by curiosity and interest, exemplifies the fulfillment that arises from internally motivated goal setting. Examples abound of individuals who achieved extraordinary results by setting their own goals independently. They include inventors who pursued innovations in solitude, artists who created masterpieces unseen by the world for years, entrepreneurs who built companies from scratch, and athletes who trained alone before breaking records. A common thread is the decision to act without reliance on approval, permission, or guidance. They set the course and trusted themselves to navigate it. Finally, setting your own goals is not a solitary act of ambition. It is a statement of self-responsibility. It acknowledges that you are the architect of your life, and that the quality of your outcomes depends on your effort, commitment, and vision. It shifts the mindset from passivity to ownership. It empowers you to create momentum, to face challenges, to celebrate victories, and to learn from failures, because every goal achieved independently reinforces the belief that nobody else can achieve it for you. The practice of defining and pursuing your own goals transforms your life. It fuels motivation. It strengthens character. It clarifies purpose. And it unlocks the power within you to act decisively and persistently. It teaches you that waiting for permission is wasted time, and that trusting yourself to set and pursue meaningful objectives is the first step toward extraordinary achievement. The journey of self-reliance continues with every goal you define, every step you take, and every dream you pursue independently, building the foundation for a life shaped by your own vision, courage, and determination. Chapter 4. Building discipline without dependence. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. It is the quiet force that turns vision into action and ambition into accomplishment. Yet, many people struggle to cultivate discipline because they rely on external pressure, motivation, or supervision to keep moving forward. True mastery comes when discipline is self-generated, when it emerges from within, and is not dependent on applause, deadlines, or encouragement from others. Building discipline without dependence begins with routine. It requires creating consistent habits that align with your goals and values and following them, even when no one is watching or checking in. The musician who practices scales every morning alone, the writer who commits to a strict daily word count, or the athlete who trains before sunrise, all exemplify how internal discipline develops. Strength, independence, and skill consistency becomes the foundation upon which all achievements are built, because habits practiced alone eventually yield results that no external force could create. The second element of independent discipline is commitment. It is a decision to act even when motivation falters, even when obstacles appear or distractions tempt you to delay. It is the choice to persist without relying on encouragement or reminders. Consider the story of Serena Williams, who trained relentlessly in solitude before competitions without constant supervision. She relied on her commitment to her craft to push through fatigue, pain, and uncertainty. The result was excellence born from self-discipline, not external reinforcement. Self-discipline also requires awareness and self-accountability. When you act independently, there is no one else to answer for your failures, and no one else to claim credit for your successes. This forces you to develop honest reflection and objective evaluation of your own performance. The coder who stays up late, debugging alone, the student who reviews mistakes in exams without tutoring, and the entrepreneur who analyzes the outcomes of business experiments independently, all develop judgment and insight that strengthen both skill and character. The lessons learned from self-accountability cannot be borrowed. They are cultivated only through personal effort. Another essential component is delayed gratification discipline. Without dependence, teaches you to prioritize long-term outcomes over short-term comfort. It is the ability to forego immediate pleasure for the sake of greater future success. The artist who spends hours perfecting technique without performing or sharing their work. The writer who revises drafts repeatedly before publication, and the athlete who pushes past fatigue to complete training, all exemplify how self-discipline enables progress that is independent of recognition, external validation, or reward. Persistence is the ultimate test of independent discipline. It is the willingness to continue when results are slow, when challenges seem insurmountable, and when external motivation is absent. The entrepreneur whose first ventures fail yet, who continues refining strategy alone, the scientist whose experiments yield repeated failures yet, who perseveres to discover a breakthrough, and the solo traveler who navigates foreign lands without guidance, yet keeps moving forward, all illustrate how discipline maintained independently produces results that would be impossible if one relied solely on others to guide or push them. Building discipline without dependence also fosters creativity, problem-solving, and resilience. When you rely on yourself to stay on track, you learn to find solutions when obstacles arise without asking for help. You learn to adjust to circumstances, and you develop flexibility of mind and character. The painter who experiments with new techniques alone, the programmer who solves complex problems without assistance, and the athlete who adjusts training in response to injury, all demonstrate how self-generated discipline builds capability and confidence that cannot be replicated by dependence. Ultimately, discipline without dependence is freedom. It liberates you from waiting for approval, permission, or supervision. It gives you control over your time, energy. It allows you to pursue goals relentlessly and consistently because the power to act resides entirely within you. It teaches that momentum comes not from others, but from your own commitment, that excellence is a result of persistent effort, and that mastery is achieved through habits cultivated independently. As you develop self-discipline, you discover that the challenges you face alone are not obstacles, but opportunities to grow, that the effort you invest independently compounds into progress, and that the confidence gained from acting consistently without reliance is a strength that shapes every aspect of life. The journey of building discipline without dependence is ongoing. It is reinforced every day through choices made and actions taken. It is the cornerstone of self-reliance, the foundation upon which all other achievements rest, and the proof that nobody else can do it for you. Chapter 5. Learning from failure independently. Failure is inevitable, yet it becomes a profound teacher when approached with independence. Many people fear failure, because they view it as final as a judgment of their ability or worth. Yet failure is simply feedback, an opportunity to learn, reflect, and improve. The most powerful lessons in life are learned not from success guided or shielded by others, but from challenges faced alone when there is no one to blame or to save you. The lessons you take away are permanent and transformative. Learning from failure independently begins with ownership. When you experience a setback without relying on others to fix it or justify it, you are forced to confront the reality of the situation. Honestly, you analyze your choices, your actions, and your decisions. You ask yourself, what went wrong, what could have been done differently, and what must change moving forward? This level of introspection develops insight and judgment that cannot be borrowed. The entrepreneur who loses their first business and rebuilds from scratch alone. The inventor whose prototypes fail repeatedly yet who learns from each iteration and improves the design, and the student who struggles with self-study and adapts methods independently, all illustrate how ownership of failure creates strength. Resilience is cultivated in solitude. Failure tested alone strengthens the mind and spirit. It teaches perseverance and adaptability. When you face obstacles without external assistance, you develop the ability to continue despite adversity. The mountaineer who falls yet climbs again without a guide. The solo traveler who gets lost yet finds the way through resourcefulness and intuition. And the athlete who trains hard yet loses competitions yet persists to achieve personal bests exemplify how resilience emerges when failure is confronted independently rather than mitigated or avoided by others. Reflection is the key to extracting value from failure. When you act independently, the space to pause, analyze, and understand mistakes is yours to claim without interference. This reflection allows you to identify patterns and adjust strategies. It encourages creativity in problem solving and strengthens self-awareness. The coder debugging a project alone learns to anticipate errors and design solutions. The artist revising a rejected piece refines technique and vision. And the entrepreneur analyzing why a venture did not succeed discovers insights that guide future success. All benefit from solitude as a laboratory for growth. Courage is another essential outcome of independent failure. The courage to try again after setbacks, to innovate despite risk, and to trust your own judgment, even after mistakes, is born from confronting challenges alone. When nobody else is holding your hand or smoothing the path, the scientist who continues experiments after repeated failures, the writer who revises and publishes drafts rejected multiple times, and the inventor who perseveres despite repeated prototype collapses all embody how courage is cultivated through independent engagement with failure. Learning from failure independently also fosters humility. It teaches that success is not guaranteed and that effort must be intentional. It cultivates patience and gratitude for incremental progress. It encourages realistic self-assessment and continuous improvement. The solo entrepreneur who confronts market failures learns to listen to customers, adapt offerings, and refine strategy. The athlete who loses races alone learns to analyze training and technique. And the musician who receives critique without mentors learns to self-correct and improve. All demonstrate how humility reinforces growth and independent mastery. Importantly, failure, approached independently, transforms mindset. It shifts perspective from avoidance to embrace, from fear to curiosity, from despair to determination. When you understand that failure is not final and that learning resides within your actions, you begin to view setbacks as opportunities to innovate, reflect, and strengthen your resolve. You stop waiting for external validation or intervention because you recognize that the insights gained alone are far more valuable than temporary comfort provided by others. Independence in failure also empowers future action. It teaches problem-solving, initiative, and creativity. It builds confidence that cannot be borrowed and instills a mindset of self-sufficiency. The student who learns to solve problems alone, the inventor who creates solutions without collaboration, and the entrepreneur who pivot strategy independently. All gain skills that extend far beyond the immediate setback. They develop the ability to navigate uncertainty with poise and to create opportunities from challenges. Ultimately, learning from failure independently is the cornerstone of growth, self-reliance, and extraordinary achievement. It is the practice that separates those who wait for guidance from those who take control. It transforms mistakes into lessons, character into resilience, and setbacks into stepping stones. The journey of confronting failure alone is not easy. It demands patience, courage, and reflection. Yet it rewards with strength, wisdom, and confidence that nobody else can give. It teaches the timeless lesson that while others may offer support, advice, or encouragement, nobody else can truly experience your failures or learn from them for you. And the most profound transformations emerge when you embrace failure as your teacher and act independently to grow. Chapter 6. Creativity and innovation flourish alone. Solitude is often misunderstood as loneliness, yet it is one of the greatest catalysts for creativity and innovation. When you are alone without distraction, pressure, or expectation, your mind can wander freely, explore ideas, and connect thoughts in ways impossible in constant company. Many of history's most profound innovations and artistic masterpieces emerged from moments of solitude when creators were free to think, experiment, and imagine without interference. Creativity flourishes alone because the mind is not constrained by the judgments or directions of others. When you act independently, you have the freedom to explore unconventional ideas, to take risks, and to pursue visions that may initially seem impossible. The artist painting in a quiet room, the inventor tinkering in a small workshop, the writer crafting worlds without feedback, all demonstrate how independence allows originality to emerge. Creativity is nurtured in the space where your own instincts are trusted and your imagination has no boundaries. Innovation is born from the courage to act on ideas without relying on approval or validation. It requires experimentation, trial and error, and the willingness to fail and learn independently. The scientist who spends months developing a theory alone, the entrepreneur who tests a business model without investors, and the musician who composes in isolation before sharing their work exemplify how independent action allows bold ideas to materialize into reality. It is in the solitude of focused effort that breakthroughs are made. Reflection and focus are amplified when you work alone without the noise of competing opinions or distractions. Your mind has the space to connect ideas critically and creatively, to notice patterns, and to explore possibilities that might be overlooked in collaboration. The programmer debugging a complex system independently discovers innovative solutions. The painter experimenting with color and form develops unique techniques, and the architect designing a structure in solitude creates designs that challenge conventions. All show that creativity thrives when nurtured by independent thought and uninterrupted concentration. Independence in creativity also fosters confidence in your vision. When you learn to trust your instincts and pursue ideas without external approval, you develop resilience and determination. The designer who develops a new style despite skepticism, the entrepreneur who launches an unconventional product without outside, all demonstrate how acting on your own ideas strengthens belief in your abilities and validates the value of self-guided innovation. Innovation often requires risk and willingness to explore the unknown, and solitude provides the environment to take those risks safely without immediate pressure or judgment. You can experiment freely, test hypotheses, and iterate repeatedly, the inventor developing a new device alone, the scientist running experiments independently, and the composer writing music in private, all illustrate how independent exploration fosters the courage necessary for breakthrough discoveries. Creativity and innovation also benefit from independence because reflection leads to self-discovery. When you work alone, you begin to understand your own thought processes, preferences, and patterns. You learn which ideas resonate most with your vision and how to refine them without external influence. The writer revising drafts alone the artist perfecting a piece without feedback, and the programmer refining code in solitude. All show how self-reflection improves both skill and originality. Finally, acting alone cultivates perseverance in creative pursuits. Innovation rarely occurs instantly. It emerges gradually from repeated effort, experimentation, and learning. When you persist independently, you develop endurance and patience that are essential to realizing complex ideas. The inventor iterating prototype after prototype, the musician composing multiple versions of a piece, and the entrepreneur refining a product over months, all exemplify how independent dedication leads to mastery. Ultimately, creativity and innovation flourish alone, because independence gives freedom, focus, courage, reflection, and perseverance. It allows ideas to develop fully without compromise or interference, and nurtures the confidence to pursue them boldly. When you embrace solitude, not as isolation, but as an opportunity for exploration, you unlock the ability to create work that is uniquely yours. It is in these moments that originality is born, that breakthroughs are made, and that you discover the extraordinary power within yourself, because nobody else can imagine or realize your vision for you. And the act of creating alone becomes both a practice and a declaration of self-reliance. Chapter 7. The Journey of Self-Motivation. Motivation is a force that cannot be borrowed. It is not something that can be permanently supplied by others. It is a fire that must be lit and nurtured from within. Those who rely on external encouragement discover quickly that it fades at the first sign of challenge, whereas those who cultivate self-motivation develop an inner drive that propels them forward, regardless of circumstances or support. The journey of self-motivation begins with purpose. When your actions are connected to a vision that matters deeply to you, the energy to move forward comes naturally. It is the understanding that your goals, your dreams, and your future depend entirely on your own effort and initiative that ignites persistent effort. The young athlete who trains before sunrise, alone motivated by the desire to reach a personal milestone. The student who studies tirelessly in solitude, driven by the ambition to master a subject, and the entrepreneur who refines a business plan in the quiet of the night, fueled by belief in a transformative idea, all exemplify the power of purpose in sparking self-motivation. Consistency is the second pillar of self-motivation. It is easy to feel motivated when energy is high, or when results are immediate. Yet the ability to maintain effort over long periods of uncertainty and challenge is what defines success. Independent motivation ensures that you keep moving even when the excitement fades, when the applause is absent, and when no one else is watching. The writer who crafts chapters alone day after day, the coder who experiments endlessly to solve a problem, and the artist who paints in solitude all demonstrate that persistence fueled by inner drive ultimately achieves results that external motivation alone cannot produce. Self-motivation also requires self-awareness, understanding what excites you, what challenges you, and what inspires growth allows you to harness energy intentionally and direct it effectively. It involves knowing when to push forward, when to pause, and when to innovate without waiting for guidance or validation. A musician who practices a difficult piece repeatedly until mastery, the scientist who tests hypotheses independently to refine understanding, and the entrepreneur who experiments with new strategies without external input, all exemplify how self-knowledge fuels sustained motivation. Resilience and self-motivation are inseparable. When you act alone, you inevitably encounter setbacks, failures, and moments of doubt. Yet the inner drive cultivated through self-reliance allows you to persevere without seeking rescue from others. It is the ability to confront obstacles head-on, to learn from them, and to continue forward regardless of external support. The solo traveler navigating unknown cities without help, the inventor refining designs after repeated failure, and the athlete overcoming injury through disciplined self-training all demonstrate how resilience feeds motivation and motivation strengthens resilience. Another critical component of self-motivation is accountability to oneself. When nobody else is holding you accountable, your progress depends entirely on your own choices, consistency, and honesty. It is this accountability that reinforces discipline, initiative, and perseverance. The coder tracking progress independently, the writer reviewing each draft critically, and the entrepreneur measuring results without oversight, all show that self-motivation is inseparable from the responsibility to act and achieve. Inspiration alone is fleeting. It can spark a moment of enthusiasm, yet sustained achievement depends on cultivating the ability to motivate yourself continuously. Self-motivation is not about waiting for passion to strike. It is about creating routines, habits, and mindsets that keep you moving toward your vision. The painter who dedicates time every day, regardless of mood, the athlete who completes training even when tired, and the student who studies diligently, despite distractions, all illustrate how consistent self-driven action converts potential into progress. Finally, self-motivation allows freedom. It liberates you from dependency on recognition, applause, or encouragement. It ensures that your progress is not contingent on external forces, and that your achievements are born from your own effort, vision, and determination. When you cultivate the ability to motivate yourself, you gain the confidence to face challenges independently, to pursue goals relentlessly, and to create a life that reflects your true potential. The journey of self-motivation is ongoing. It is strengthened every time you act independently, every time you overcome doubt, and every time you persevere despite obstacles. It transforms how you approach challenges, how you pursue goals, and how you define success. It teaches the timeless truth that while others may cheer or advise, nobody else can generate the drive that propels you toward your dreams. For you, and the most extraordinary outcomes emerge when you cultivate and trust the inner fire that moves only by your own will. Chapter 8. Celebrating small wins alone. Celebrating victories is often associated with applause, recognition, and validation from others. Yet the most meaningful achievements are often those experienced quietly and privately. When you acknowledge your progress alone, you cultivate self-respect, confidence, and the intrinsic motivation necessary to pursue even greater goals. The act of recognizing small wins independently reinforces the understanding that nobody else can create your success for you, and that every step forward matters. Small wins are the building blocks of monumental achievements. They are the milestones that mark progress when pursued alone. These victories are proof that your effort, your decisions, and your perseverance are effective, even when unnoticed by the world. The student who masters a difficult concept without praise, the writer who completes a chapter in solitude, and the athlete who achieves a personal best during a practice session exemplify how small independent achievements accumulate into substantial growth over time. Celebrating alone begins with mindfulness. It is the conscious acknowledgement of your own effort and progress. It is noticing the steps taken, the obstacles overcome, and the resilience demonstrated. Without waiting for recognition or applause, the entrepreneur who completes a critical task despite setbacks, the musician who masters a complex piece through repeated practice, and the coder who resolves a challenging problem independently, all illustrate the power of self-recognition as fuel for continued progress. These celebrations reinforce self-motivation. When you reward yourself for effort without relying on others, you strengthen the habit of acknowledging progress and nurturing momentum. The painter who steps back and appreciates the details refined in a painting, the solo traveler who reflects on challenges overcome during a journey, and the student who recognizes improvement in skill through practice, all demonstrate that intrinsic acknowledgement cultivates perseverance and encourages further action. Small wins also teach gratitude and perspective. When achieved independently, they highlight your capacity to act and overcome obstacles without external validation. They remind you of the value of effort and the importance of resilience. The athlete recovering from injury who celebrates each milestone in training the writer completing a difficult chapter, despite fatigue, and the entrepreneur solving a problem without guidance. All showcase the importance of valuing your own progress as a source of strength and inspiration. Celebrating alone is a declaration of self-reliance. It signals that you understand the power and responsibility you have over your own journey, that every action matters, and that every victory, no matter how small, is evidence of your ability to shape your own future. The solo musician performing flawlessly for their own satisfaction, the inventor refining a prototype without feedback, and the student mastering a complex skill in solitude, all embody how self-acknowledgement builds confidence and reinforces independence. Additionally, recognizing small wins independently encourages reflection. It allows you to analyze what strategies worked, what strengths were utilized, and what improvements are possible without external interference. The entrepreneur evaluating a successful solution to a problem alone, the artist noting the techniques that improve the composition, and the coder assessing a program that finally runs correctly, all demonstrate how self-celebration nurtures insight, growth, and continual learning. Ultimately, celebrating small wins alone is not about isolation. It is about empowerment. It is about owning your journey, acknowledging your progress, and trusting your abilities. It reinforces that you are capable of achieving and sustaining success without reliance on others. It transforms solitude from a state of loneliness into a space of growth, reflection, and motivation. It nurtures the confidence that every effort counts and that every step taken independently moves you closer to your vision. When you cultivate the habit of celebrating small victories alone, you strengthen the foundation for larger successes. You build resilience, self-motivation, and confidence. You learn to value your own judgment and effort, and you embrace the reality that while support, advice, and recognition are valuable, nobody else can experience, act, or succeed for you. And the journey of acknowledging your achievements independently is a lifelong practice that continually fuels growth, courage, and mastery. Chapter 9. From Alone to Leadership. True leadership is born not from titles, recognition, or the presence of followers, but from mastery of oneself and the courage to act independently. Those who learn to stand alone to face challenges without reliance on others cultivate qualities that naturally inspire and guide people. The journey from acting alone to leading others begins with self-mastery. When you trust your instincts, take responsibility for your decisions, and achieve results independently, you develop the confidence, clarity, and resilience necessary to influence and motivate others. Leadership rooted in independence begins with example. The person who works diligently without supervision, who perseveres without encouragement, and who consistently demonstrates integrity and commitment sets a standard that others naturally follow. The entrepreneur building a business from scratch alone, the artist refining a craft in solitude, and the athlete training tirelessly without recognition, all illustrate how self-reliant action becomes a model of inspiration for others. Leadership emerges when others witness the results of independent effort and are drawn to emulate discipline, vision, and determination. Acting alone also cultivates empathy and insight, essential qualities for effective leadership. When you face obstacles independently, you develop a deep understanding of challenges, persistence, and problem-solving strategies. This insight allows you to support and guide others more effectively. The solo traveler navigating unknown territories, the inventor refining prototypes without guidance, and the writer overcoming repeated setbacks all gain perspective on the difficulties inherent in any endeavor and develop the ability to mentor, coach, and lead with authenticity. Decision-making is strengthened through independent action. Leaders must make choices that affect others, and often must do so without immediate support or feedback. By practicing autonomy in daily life, you develop the capacity to evaluate situations, weigh risks, and act decisively. The entrepreneur launching a novel product without approval, the scientist pursuing an unconventional hypothesis alone, and the manager tackling complex problems independently, all demonstrate how self-reliance sharpens judgment and equips future leaders to make thoughtful, courageous decisions. Independent achievement also builds credibility and trust essential for leadership. When you consistently deliver results through your own initiative, others recognize competence, reliability, and vision. These qualities attract collaboration, loyalty, and followership. The musician who performs flawlessly in practice before public shows the student who masters skills independently, and the entrepreneur who executes a complex project alone all gain credibility that inspires respect and confidence from peers. Moreover, leadership emerges from the ability to balance independence with yet you are not dependent on it. For progress, you bring clarity of vision, initiative, and confidence to group endeavors. Your contributions become purposeful and decisive. The leader who can act alone yet coordinates with a team leverages the best of both worlds, ensuring momentum is maintained and outcomes are maximized. The solo artist joining a collective project, the independent coder contributing to a team system, and the entrepreneur expanding a business with a trusted team all illustrate this balance. Courage, resilience, and vision, cultivated through solitary effort, also enable leaders to inspire others during challenges, uncertainty, and adversity. Your ability to remain composed, take action, and persevere sets the tone for those around you and motivates collective progress. The mountaineer leading a team after solo climbs, the CEO navigating a crisis using lessons learned from independent ventures, and the teacher guiding students after years of self-directed learning, all exemplify how leadership flows naturally from self-reliance. Finally, moving from alone to leadership is about empowerment. It is the recognition that by mastering yourself, embracing independence, and achieving results on your own, you gain the credibility, insight, and vision to lift others toward shared goals. You understand that leadership is not about dependence on others, but about using the strength cultivated through autonomy to inspire, guide, and impact those around you. Your journey from solitude to influence shows that while nobody else can do your work for you, your independence equips you to lead others toward their own potential. The path from acting alone to leading others is gradual. It begins with self-trust, evolves through consistent action, and expands as others witness your competence, courage, and resilience. It transforms your perspective from focusing solely on personal achievement to fostering growth in those around you, and teaches the enduring lesson that leadership is not given, it is earned through independence, integrity, and the consistent demonstration of capability and vision. Chapter 10. Embracing life as your own responsibility. The ultimate lesson of self-reliance is understanding that your life belongs entirely to you. Nobody else can live your experiences, make your decisions, or achieve your goals for you. The sooner you accept that reality, the sooner you unlock the power to create the life you desire. Waiting for permission, guidance, or support is a trap that delays growth, yet taking full responsibility for your life transforms challenges into opportunities, learning into progress, and vision into reality. Embracing responsibility begins with awareness. It requires acknowledging that every decision, every action, and every inaction has consequences that shape your journey. When you stop blaming others for setbacks or waiting for someone to fix problems, you recognize your own capacity to act and change the course of your life. The entrepreneur who rebuilds after a failed venture, the student who takes charge of self-study without relying on tutors, and the artist who develops their craft independently, all exemplify the empowerment that comes from owning responsibility. Responsibility also means accepting both success and failure as products of your effort. It is easy to take credit when outcomes are positive and blame others when things go wrong. Yet true independence requires you to embrace the full spectrum of results. The mountaineer who climbs alone without guides celebrates the summit and analyzes missteps. The inventor who tests prototypes alone takes lessons from both breakthroughs and failures. And the writer who completes a manuscript without assistance owns the process and the results equally understanding that you control the journey strengthens resolve and self-confidence. Taking responsibility cultivates self-discipline, focus, and perseverance. When the outcomes depend solely on your own choices, you develop the ability to prioritize, to manage time and energy, and to persist even when challenges seem overwhelming. The athlete training alone for a personal record, the solo coder completing a complex project, and the entrepreneur navigating uncharted business decisions all demonstrate how self-responsibility reinforces independence and builds lasting capability. Embracing life as your own responsibility also fosters clarity of purpose. It forces you to define your goals, understand your priorities, and act intentionally rather than drifting along a path dictated by others' expectations. The young professional charting a unique career path alone, the artist deciding which projects to pursue independently, and the student choosing a course of study aligned with passion rather than external advice, all illustrate how responsibility sharpens vision and empowers decisive action. Independence and responsibility also strengthens resilience and courage. The challenges you face alone are inevitably more difficult, yet by confronting them, you learn to navigate uncertainty, adapt to obstacles, and develop mental fortitude. The solo traveler navigating unfamiliar terrain, the entrepreneur facing market uncertainty without guidance, and the scientist conducting experiments independently, all exemplify how self-reliance and responsibility prepares you for the complexities of life. Moreover, taking full responsibility transforms your relationship with time and effort when you recognize that your progress, achievements, and growth depend entirely on your actions. You become proactive rather than reactive. You seize opportunities instead of waiting for them to appear, and you invest consistently in your goals. The musician practicing diligently, alone to master a piece, the student reviewing mistakes without prompting, and the athlete adhering to training independently, all showcase how ownership of responsibility accelerates development and achievement. Ultimately, embracing life as your own responsibility is liberating. It frees you from dependency, excuses, and the limitations imposed by waiting for others. It teaches that the power to act, to create, and to transform lies within you alone. It instills confidence, courage, and mastery, and it allows you to live intentionally, purposefully, and fully knowing that your choices define your destiny. When you fully accept that nobody else can do it for you, the journey of life changes profoundly. You stop waiting for guidance, encouragement, or permission. You step forward with determination and clarity, and you become the architect of your experiences, achievements, and legacy. Every challenge faced independently strengthens character. Every victory earned alone reinforces self-trust, and every lesson learned builds the resilience to face the next obstacle. The path of independence is demanding, yet it is the most rewarding path because it leads to self-mastery, empowerment, and the realization of your true potential. As you close this book, remember that your journey does not end here. The principles of self-reliance, courage, perseverance, and responsibility are not temporary practices. They are lifelong commitments. The power to act, create, and achieve rests within you alone, and by embracing it fully, you cultivate the freedom, strength, and mastery necessary to live a life that is authentically yours. The moment you accept that nobody else can do it for you is the moment your life begins in its truest and most extraordinary form.
Kindly subscribe to my channel.